everyone, and welcome to MeowMix, the Carolina Panthers podcast. My name is Steven.
My name is Jerry.
And it is draft week. It is
Finally.
Monday of draft week. Yes, it's finally here. It really, honestly, when you're doing a podcast or you write articles about NFL or even just, being huge fans, it takes so long for the draft to get here. And then once it's here, it's over. Just like that. Like Christmas.
I'm very excited to see where I'm sitting at with this Panthers team for the future season. Because right now, the Panthers are still such in a flux of every which way. It has been, quarterback, left tackle, both desperate needs. We only have one pick in the first 3 rounds. Are we going to trade back? Are we not? Are we going to get extra? Is Matt Rule going to get busted in a prostitution ring and get fired? Please.
That one's not going to happen. I guarantee you that one's not going to happen. Of all the things that may happen, I don't think that's one. But yeah, it's there are a lot of questions still with this team, and it feels like everything is on hold right now until after the draft. I mean, we've heard some rumors that potential trade for like a Baker Mayfield or a Jimmy Garoppolo, that's kind of on hold until after the draft, as well it should be, because the Panthers could easily draft a quarterback
exactly
in this draft, and probably will. Maybe not in the first round. We'll see. But let's kind of kick it off there and just really talk about what the Panthers. I guess what are our needs? What are the positions that the Panthers should focus on, especially early in the draft?
Well, I think our first need is definitely quarterback. I mean, unfortunately, this is a horrible quarterback class, but Sam Darnold is a horrible quarterback. Out of 32 starting quarterbacks, he's probably 32, 31, depending on the week. I mean, point blank. And P.J. Walker instills no real production.
P.J. Walker's not the answer. Definitely not the answer.
We need this future starting quarterback for this team is not on the roster right now. Now, correct. Whether it's Baker Mayfield, Gardner Minshew, Kenny Pickett, someone is, but they're not here right now.
Yeah. So when I look at this draft, it is funny because as a franchise, quarterback is definitely like the number one hole that needs to be filled. But when you look at this draft and you look at the Panthers sitting at number 6, quarterback is not where my brain goes.
No.
My brain goes to left tackle because that is the other major need on this team.
Absolutely.
And there may not be any, in fact, there probably aren't any, like, no questions, top 10 quarterbacks in this draft. But there are at least 3, and I've seen maybe even a 4th sneaking up, high-quality left tackles, offensive linemen. So that's where my brain goes. And at 6, one of them is almost certainly going to be available. And really, like, it's such a deep O-line draft. Like, I was even looking at some sleeper stuff earlier today, and it's just filled with O-linemen. Like, all the lists are filled with O-linemen. Up and down, and deep into the 4th, 5th round, quality O-linemen. So there's going to be a lot of options to take O-linemen, but when you're looking at that very first pick, you're looking at something you want to knock out of the park. I mean, I think you and I, we've done our draft profiles. We landed on several O-linemen at the top of our lists.
Yeah, our big board, which is Panther specific, is Evan Neal, Charles Cross, and Ike Edwanu. I mean, that 1, 2, 3. And then we look at quarterbacks and everything else, but it's just night and day how they are ready. They are, they have the elite status that they're going to be there at the left side for years to come, and we're not going to have to worry about it. The Jordan Grosses, even if they may not be the constant Pro Bowler, you are solid on that side.
Yeah, you just want a guy that you can plug in every day that you don't have to worry about. A Taylor Moton on the right side. Like, is Taylor Moton an every year Pro Bowler? No, but he is really good at what he does. and for our team, he's incredibly important. So that's what we're looking for on the left side. Now, there's some other positions, excuse me, that are also of a need for the Panthers. Edge rusher. We certainly need a high caliber starting edge rusher since Reddick left. Center, you could say. I mean, they made a move in the offseason to bring in a center. But I've heard a lot of people say that he could play guard.
He's not. From what I've read,
I know that's not his natural position. Center is what he likes to play, but I've heard people say like Elflein is going to play center, and he's going to play guard, and I'm like, no, I don't want Elflein anywhere near my starting offensive line. And
what he said is he was being paid to play center. So I think Bozeman's a center, and Elflein can go kick rock somewhere. Probably.
I think that's what a lot of people are saying with if the Panthers don't draft a starting left tackle, that you're pretty much going to play Christensen at left tackle, and then you got Elflein at center, and is it Bozeman?
Mm-hmm,
Bozeman at guard, which if you only have Brady Christensen as your definite left tackle, that kind of has to be what it is, I think, because there's no other starting caliber guard on the team.
No, currently, and the Panthers do have $30 million in cap space that you can go and grab another tackle. I mean, Eric Fisher, Dwayne Brown, both are still, out there. They're not the future of that position, but it's also something if you don't want to go with one of those top three and you want to trade back, gain more picks because there are some multiple needs, you can maybe look at getting one of them and then having Brady Christensen try out for that left tackle spot, something that Matt Rule and Joe Brady really didn't let him do until the very end of the season. Yeah. And James Campen, the new offensive line coach, he's produced players before, and I would, want to see.
And he likes Brady Christensen.
Yeah, let him get his hands on him, see if it works. And guard, we could draft some guard.
Or there are, Eric Flowers, Trey Turner is out there. Like there are some guards that have starting experience that are still free agents that are maybe a little bit older. In the like Quentin Spain is 31, he's a guard, but Turner and Flowers are still in their 20s, so you wouldn't be bringing in like a 35-year-old guy. You'd be bringing in someone that's still fairly young and could produce. So yeah, there are still options, and having the most cap space in the league right now is certainly going to be useful to the Panthers after this draft is done, because as of right now, you're not going to be putting a ton of money into these draft picks. You've got one top 10 pick, and everybody else is going to be fourth round or later. Yeah. So they're not going to be, taking a ton of money off the cap. So, typically you like to set, around 10 to 12 million, something like that aside for rookies. But that may not be the case this season. So there could be even more money for the Panthers to spend. But yeah, so I talked about, when we talked about quarterbacks, we talked about Kenny Pickett, we talked about Matt Corral, we talked about Malik Willis. We did not talk about Desmond Ridder. We did not talk about Sam Howell.
Correct.
Those are two other quarterbacks that don't. Well, I will say that none of them have really been consistently mocked in the top 10. I have seen Ridder as the Panthers pick at 6 very recently on a mock. I've seen that. I haven't seen Sam Howell, I don't think, mocked at 6. But these are guys that the Panthers could target if they trade back.
Yeah, and I'm not a big fan of Ridder. I watched some of his tape. A
lot of people think Ridder could be the best quarterback in this draft.
And some people are, believe that. I'm not going to say they're wrong because I have no clue. Now, Sam Howell, he reminds me of the guy who has all the tools, all the physicality that all the old pro scouts from like 30 years ago would have absolutely loved, but he just can't seem to put it together so far. He was the number
Sam
one.
Darnold, almost.
Exactly. And that is exactly what I was thinking with Sam Howell. One thing with him, he really gets, when the rush gets to him, he struggles a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And the NFL is a lot better than the ACC with pressure coming at you. Sam Darnold can
Barely,
attest.
barely. Yeah. You know, UNC quarterbacks for some reason just haven't really
Yeah.
taken off in a long time. I mean, you have Trubisky, who, you know, only really started like one full season's worth of games for them, and he struggled in the NFL. I
Again,
think Howell could follow that same trajectory.
same here. And Sam Howell, like I said, originally he was supposed to be the top guy. It was
Yeah.
it was his, because I remember looking at it, because I had a feeling Sam Darnold was not going to pan out. So I was kind of looking at who we could get next year, and I saw Sam Howell. So he just fell because he just didn't produce that much.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, if Sam Howell could have come out last year, you know, he'd have been a first round pick, easy, no question, just on potential.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but then you see him play more, and then you see all the holes, and again, he could still be a first round pick. He may very well be a first round pick. That's the thing with this particular draft class. It kind of sucks having a pick this high with this draft class, and you need a quarterback, because none of these guys are no-brainer,
Yeah.
can't miss prospects, right? They all have major issues, major red flags. One of them, two of them maybe, are going to turn out to be really good NFL quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You have to guess right.
None of these guys are A prospects coming out of college. They're all
Right.
B to, B plus. They're all that type of frame. And it's a good draft for that letter grade. That late first, early second round. There's like 5 guys. But the problem is there's no guy leading. There's no Trevor Lawrence. There's no guy up top that's really getting there.
There's no Andrew Luck. There's no guy that you feel comfortable putting all your eggs into that basket. It just doesn't exist. But the Panthers are in desperate need at that position. And I could very easily see them pulling the trigger on one of these guys. So, Jerry, gun to your head. You're at 6. None of the quarterbacks have been taken. Let's say all 3 of our favorite O-linemen have been taken, and the Panthers are going to draft a quarterback. Who you drafting?
I can't trade back?
Nope. You drafting. I'm
going to go with the way our big board fell, Malik Willis. Yes, he is raw. And this is why I'm fearful of this organization taking a quarterback this year, is because they're going to not go for the outstanding potential that he has, because he is raw. He's going to need to sit a year. But he can also become that superstar. And
he's got this. He's the only one I think that has the superstar potential. Like some of these other guys could be fringe top 10 quarterbacks. They could be good starting quarterbacks for a long time. Yeah. But Malik Willis has those traits that, if it puts it all together, if he lands in the right spot, could be Lamar Jackson, could be Mike
Kyler
Vick,
Murray.
In terms of Kyler Murray, and in terms of their impact on their team. So, I would agree with you. If you have to draft a quarterback at 6, I think you try to hit the home run.
Yeah,
you don't worry about hitting a solid double. You try to go for the home run.
And here's my thought too: is Scott Fitter, is he going to pull the trigger on a quarterback at 6? Again, this is his second draft. I know Matt Rule typically runs the show over there, but it seems like this offseason that some of the power Matt Rule had in his first years is starting to get pulled back in. We could see that in the free agents, the way it went about. A lot better free agency than last year, let's be honest.
Much better, yeah.
So I'm wondering if maybe Tepper lets Fitter kind of have more say, and Fitter is like, no, that's way too strong. Because Matt Rule's trying to save his job. He knows that desperately.
Sure. Of course, yeah. Not that the Panthers don't need a quarterback, right? Like, not that drafting a quarterback at 6 would be preposterous. Like, it wouldn't be preposterous.
No.
In this draft, it's not ideal, but if they fall in love with somebody and they think that he's the guy, then I think you have to take him. The other side of that coin, what you were alluding to, we know what Scott Fitterer wants to do. Scott Fitterer wants to trade back.
And again, he doesn't want to put his name on a 6 overall pick quarterback that's a bust, because let's be real, once that's put on him, he's not going to be able to shake it. And if this GM job doesn't pan out, it's hard to shake that name off you.
Yeah, you're the guy that drafted, Jamarcus Russell.
Exactly.
You're the guy that took the quarterback that flamed out as hard as any, So, yeah, I would agree. But the problem with trading back in this draft is that many, many times teams are trading up to get a quarterback. They're trading up to get one of these can't miss guys. And while there are a lot of very good players in this draft in the top, top rounds, almost every team in the top 10 has been rumored to want to trade back.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just wondering what the value is going to be this year for trading back. Like, because if you trade back, for example, let's just say the Eagles with one of their picks, in the mid to late teens, want to trade up for the Panthers. Typically trading into the top 10 from the mid teens is going to net you maybe an additional first, down the road. Certainly some mid-round picks in this draft. In this draft, it may just get you a second, maybe like a fourth or something, and then you have to give up a sixth. I mean, it could really not be as lucrative as it has been in the past. Yeah. I still think the Panthers should consider it because I think you could still get a Kenny Pickett, a Malik Willis, a Trevor Penning, somebody like that in that mid-teens area, and you'd pick up another pick. Go ahead.
Now, I think the only way that really happens is if we get a good haul, would be if one of the top 3 left tackles falls a little bit, more or less Evan Neal or Icky, because those two seem to be.
I don't know. Cross has been getting a lot of really good hype. I mean, I think he's right up there with those guys. I believe.
Or Thibodeau, someone like that, or a Kyle Hamilton. Another team would love, and at 6 they could easily fall past us. So maybe someone wants to jump up and grab them, because there is a couple really premier-looking edge rushers, not outstanding, but some really good-looking guys, Aiden Hutchinson and Thibodeau being them. And the kid from Georgia now is running up the mock drafts. I can't think of his name right now. But
yeah. I mean, if you're looking at the first round, the Panthers draft at 6, then you've got the Giants, right? Then you've got the Falcons, then the Seahawks. So realistically, if someone wants to trade up, they're going to be trying to get ahead of the Giants, who also draft at 5, by the way. But they're going to try to get up above the Giants at 7, or the Falcons. The Falcons are a team that has a quarterback need, a team that has a wide receiver need. Wide receiver, I think, is very much in play in this area of the draft. Not for the Panthers, but as a trade-up option for some of these guys, because the Giants, they're talking about, trading Tony, their guy that really was kind of having a really nice season before he got hurt last year. So, but they're going to need a guy, right? Yeah. They could always use a top wide receiver. So could the Falcons. The Seahawks are talking about trading Metcalf. So there's real potential for someone to try to trade up to 6 to get a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Because they know that one of those teams after us could easily take one, and probably will take one. So, yeah, there are reasons that a team would want to trade up to the Panthers, and they know the Panthers are in business and want to trade down. Fitter has absolutely made that his persona, is he wants to trade back. Come at me with the offers. I want to trade back.
I would say that, honestly, on draft day, he probably has a little sign that says, we're open for business to trade.
Open for business. Yeah. Yep.
It has been no secret that with no second and third round pick, this team is really looking to fall back to gain some more picks. Rightfully so. It just does.
And honestly, Fitterer said that when they made those trades last year, during the season, and then even when they traded for Darnold, Fitterer said you can manufacture draft picks. So I believe this is the plan all along. Is Fitterer always had this in mind, was maybe not that they're going to have the 6th pick, but that he was going to trade back and make more draft picks this season.
And that's what he did last year. Yeah. He really did. In that second round, he moved back 2-3 times and then got Terrace Marshall. I mean,
five trades in the draft last year.
So I would not be surprised. I also think right now we have really no capital to really trade except for that 6th pick, and I think that has to be dealt for him to do that. Yeah, because otherwise you're dealing for multiple 6 from your 5th. I mean, it's not the greatest.
It's gonna be tough if they make the pick at 6. Number one, it's gonna be easy for me and you because Fitterer has not shown that he wants to trade up, right?
And rightfully so.
I think everything was trade back last year, and that we went the Seahawks. That was their thing as well, is trade back. So if the Panthers do make that pick at 6, it's gonna be a real quiet around here until Saturday. And then they've got a bunch of picks on Saturday. But I don't know. It feels like this is such prime, perfect real estate to trade back from. But I don't think there's going to be a ton of offers. I just don't think there's going to be a lot of takers that want to come up and give that big haul that you would expect.
I
hope there is. Because ideally, best case scenario is the Panthers can trade back to somewhere between 15 and 20, still get their quarterback, and acquire, a 2nd, a 3rd round pick, something like that. To go O-line heavy after that would be best case scenario in my mind.
So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and take a couple look at some players that may be later rounds that you would like to grab. So if you want to go ahead and kick it off with one of your first guys.
Sure. Now, I will just say that there are a lot of O-linemen that are going to be taken between the 2nd and 7th rounds that I don't know enough about. That I there's just so many because it's such a deep draft. So none of the guys that I'm going to mention are O-linemen. That being said, I fully expect and want the Panthers to take an O-line, several O-linemen. They need to take a lot of swings. But outside of that, one of the guys that I've been really talking about and a guy that I want desperately on the Panthers is James Cook, running back out of Georgia. Dalvin Cook's brother. I know. You and I have talked about it before. I love James Cook. I think he is kind of like he's just a really good receiving back. He'd be a perfect 3rd round back to take some of that weight off of McCaffrey. And really you wouldn't lose any production, I don't think. And you could get him maybe in the 3rd round, like a late 3rd, early 4th round, potentially if he falls a little bit. He's going to be a better NFL player than he was a college player, 100%. He needs to bulk up maybe 15, 20 pounds, but he's going to be good. I think he's faster than his brother. He's a better receiver than his brother. He could be a steal. So again, like a 3rd, 4th round pick, I would love for the Panthers to take a swing.
I 100% understand where your thought process is. My problem is they drafted Chuba last year. They just signed Deontay Foreman, and then you're adding you're adding another back. And I agree with you. I think bringing him in would have been great, but with all the capital and the needs, it would be hard.
Well, I'll just say this: Deontay Foreman, they did bring him in on a 1-year deal. It's not a very expensive deal. I mean, he may not even make the roster. I mean, let's be honest. Like he's no guarantee to make the roster. And then Chuba was okay last year, but he didn't really show me anything that made me. He's not dynamic, right? James Cook is dynamic with what he can do. So that's just kind of a wish list guy, a guy that I'd love to see them target if it fits. You know, not a desperate need like you alluded to, but just a guy I like.
My first one here is on the offensive line. No shock. Mm-hmm. He's mostly ranked around 100. You know, set like 80 to 100. Cole Strange out of Chattanooga.
Yeah. He's a center. He's on my list too.
He's a center guard. He's a little bit older, but I love these small school guys that bust out. He's 6'5", 307, big guy, big explosive guy. I think this would be someone that would be a good target for us to maybe get another guard in this draft. You know, maybe not starting right away, or a center. You know, you move him inside, move him outside, whatever you need, you can do with him. I mean, he's not a tackle, but you get where I'm saying.
Yeah, and I guess I did lie because I did have him on my list as well. He was the last guy I put on my list. Was Cole Strange out of Chattanooga. Yeah, he's one of those guys that's like he's not huge, like he's over 300 pounds, but he's not freakishly big. He's not freakishly muscular. He doesn't do anything that makes you go, holy crap. But he does everything well. He's always in the right spots. Mm-hmm. He's got great footwork. He's just a good player. He's a good NFL. He would be a good NFL player. And I have him listed as center. I think he was center most of his college career.
He was left guard and left tackle. He never played center.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I just looked at his snap count on PFF. Because when he said center, I was like, okay, well, I didn't know he would play center.
Why do I have him listed as center?
Maybe hopefully dreaming. I don't know.
Huh. Okay. Well, either way, versatile. He could play center, I bet. Yeah, I think he did have one start at center from what I'm seeing here. But either way, he's two starts at left tackle too. So he's all over the place. Sounds like a Matt Rule guy, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, it comes from a small school. He's got a lot of versatility on the line, played all over the place. First team All Southern Conference selection in 2021. So, yeah, I like that. My next guy here is Jerry. You might as well just I'm always gonna bring up a tight end. There's always gonna be a tight end in my wish list. So this is a guy that could be a 7th round pick, maybe an undrafted free agent. Grant Calcaterra out of SMU. Okay. Originally played at Oklahoma with Kyler Murray and got some concussions. Okay. Ended up medically retiring in 2019 from concussions. Would have been probably a 1st or 2nd round pick had he continued on the trajectory he was on. Ended up getting his communications degree, went to work as an EMT, and then decided that he wanted to give football another shot. So he went to SMU, had career year last year in receptions and yardage. And he's a big guy. He's like 6'5". He's pretty quick. He has great hands. He tries when he's blocking. He's not like an exceptional blocker, but he gives a good effort. So, for a guy that late in the draft who has that potential upside, why not? Like, give him a shot. We could always use a 3rd or 4th tight end who could develop into something good later.
You want a guy who retired due to concussions go play?
I didn't say that I want him in like the 2nd round, but as a late flyer or an undrafted free agent, sure, why not?
Okay.
You're looking for diamond in the rough at that point. And this guy, if he gets that Luke Kuechly collar and the right type of helmet, he could develop into something really, really nice. Calcaterra, okay. Remember the name, Calcaterra.
Now, my next player I have here, I put him on my list just because the Panthers brought this guy in to actually have him work out. Bailey Zapp, quarterback out of Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. Now,
Hilltoppers.
He has a weak arm, and I say weak arm for NFL standards. Like, he threw a Hail Mary from the 50-yard line, and it didn't get to the end zone. That's a weak arm in the NFL standards.
That's tough. Yeah, we killed Teddy Bridgewater for that.
But he's extremely accurate. His deep passes are extremely accurate, too. It's just he can't
as long as they don't go past 50 yards.
Yeah, he just can't chuck it that far.
Deep passes.
And again, this is mostly because the Panthers already brought him in, but he's very accurate. He has good pocket presence. He can read a defense really quickly. He seems like a very good West Coast style off quarterback that maybe you can get him in the weight room and work on his arm to maybe gain some yardage and arm
Could
strength.
Be a footwork issue. Could be a lot of different reasons. Yeah.
But
I've seen him mocked in the 4th round too. So he, could be available.
Correct.
At like 137. Yeah.
And that's where he's at, just down there.
Yeah. Yeah. So my next guy here is a safety, Sterling Weatherford, probably a 3rd round pick. So the Panthers would have to make some moves to, be available with him. But he's out of Miami, Ohio. He is very Jeremy Chin-like in terms of size, athletic ability, plays all over the place, needs a little improvement in his tackling. Very, very Jeremy Chin-esque. But yeah, Sterling Weatherford, safety. I don't know. I feel like a safety is a position the Panthers should target kind of middle rounds just to, again, shore up the depth there. And again, I'm looking for reasons to move Jeremy Chin back to where I think he's most productive.
Yes.
Yeah. So
we
that's
both
kind of what I'm
believe
looking
that.
at.
We both believe he needs to drop more down closer to the box. Now, he played really good last year at safety. It's just
he was fine.
Watching the games, he made less impact playing safety as he did as linebacker. And
especially the first half to almost 3/4 of the season. Like it feels like towards the end of the season he was making more splash plays, but yeah, he was pretty quiet, honestly, the first half of the season.
And this is going to take a little time out here from the draft talk. Now, Steve Wilkes, supposedly, our defense coordinator went up to him and asked him about Jeremy Chin. He's like, yeah, he could become a Pro Bowler, all-pro safety. So they're hinting that he's going to stay, but that's good. He could be a Pro Bowl safety, but a Pro Bowl linebacker could be so much better. He almost won Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year for that, playing that position. Just doesn't make sense to put him out of position for a less dynamic position. Most safeties don't make, dynamic plays. Just don't.
Yeah, I mean, and there are a few. Don't comment on us. We know that Jamal Adams is out there, and there's several safeties that are
Earl
really
Thomas
good.
Of the years and stuff like that. Ed Reed. But
all we're saying is that Jeremy Chin, when he played the linebacker position for the Panthers, was outstanding. He was really good, and he made plays all over the field. And when he played safety last year, there was a noticeable lack of those plays. Now, he made some good plays, but when you compare the two seasons, I think it's pretty obvious that he was much more of a factor at linebacker. So,
correct. Again,
we'll see what happens. But yeah, a safety and a guy like Sterling Weatherford, again, he's 6'4", 250, something like that.
Yeah, I think he was like 215, 220. He was
220, right?
Yeah, he looks size-wise, he's very much like Jeremy Chin. Because we made our last mock. We were looking at him. I was like, wow, that is literally Jeremy Chin size.
Yeah, very similar. Yep.
Isaiah Simmons size,
Yeah, yeah. And that's where I kind of first heard of him, was on our last mock, and I started looking at him a little more. I was like, I like this guy. Why is he not mocked a little higher, especially once you saw what Jeremy Chin was able to do from, again, not one of these big schools, drafted kind of late in the second round and really showed out. So, yeah, I mean, in all the redrafts I've seen of the Jeremy Chin draft, he's going in the first round in all the redrafts.
Oh, absolutely.
So I could easily see a similar type of trajectory for Sterling Weatherford.
Now, speaking of linebacker, because of the simple fact that they're not moving him down from what it sounds like, my next guy, and he doesn't come from a small school, comes from Penn State, Brandon Smith, linebacker, 6'4", 250. He's a complete athletic freak. He's very, speedy, everything else. Great in coverage. He needs to work on his run defense. He's projected in the 4th round. He's only a junior, so he could have stayed in, but he opted out. Works on his he needs to work on a pass rush, work on his run defense. Great in coverage, and he's a freakish athlete. So I think if you get a good coach, linebacker coach in there, work on those, his athletic ability could shine, and he's already good in coverage.
Yeah, love it. I mean, again, linebacker is another position that I think the Panthers definitely need to work on, get some depth, and if they could find a diamond in the rough type of guy who can come out of nowhere and be a everyday starter, that'd be great. That's all the ones that I had, Jerry. I don't know if you have any additional ones you want to talk about.
We've already talked about Zach Tom from Wake Forest that could play center or tackle. I think he's actually risen up the board since last time we did our mock draft.
That's because they heard us. They heard us talking about it, and they're like, you know what, this guy is pretty good.
Oh, well, there's some people who say that he's a legitimate left tackle, or at least a backup tackle in the league instead of just a guard or center. But he's one, and my last one is going to be Kellen Dix, Arizona State. He's a tackle. Surprise, surprise. I was looking just in case they don't go straight for the tackle round 1. So he's one of the highest graded Power 5 tackles in the country last year, but he's super thin. He's 6'7", 301. He looks smaller than some tight ends, so he needs to bulk up. This guy's a 4th round pick. Let's not act like he's perfect, but he has great feet, and you could work on him. You got to bulk him up, and this is again if you don't go early tackle.
Yeah, which honestly, I would love for them to do, but as we've talked about, and honestly, Jerry had several options on his, later round guys. There are a ton of offensive linemen in this draft.
Yeah.
It is this is the best draft to have a lot of picks in, and the Panthers don't have a lot of picks in it, unfortunately.
I mean, they could have stocked their cupboard with offensive linemen for the next 4 or 5 years of just, at least having quality backups, because we all know the O-line they don't stay healthy. I mean, that's just a brutal position over and over again. Knees, concussions. I mean, just hats off to you gentlemen for playing O-line. That position just looks brutal.
Yeah, they're getting hit every single play. I mean, 70 times a game. They're getting hit hard. So, yeah, that's definitely a tough position. That's why when you have an opportunity to get, an excellent, player at those positions, you should probably take it. So, yeah, I mean, I was looking for like an edge rusher or something like that, but this is a kind of a crappy draft for that position.
I was looking for the same thing. And right now, my honest opinion, I agree. I would love to find a great edge rusher in this draft, but with this season, with the lack of draft capital we have, we might as well see what Etor has. Yetur Gross-Matos. I mean, we spent a second round pick on him 2 years ago. He showed flashes. He was a guy that when he was drafted, that you said, hey, you're going to have to give this guy his time. Well, this is his third year. This is the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that I'd say that he's earned his opportunity, but I think he's going to have his opportunity, so
yeah.
I mean, there are some edge rushers, free agent edge rushers. I mean, Jadeveon Clowney is available at the right price. Wouldn't mind bringing him in. Melvin Ingram, Justin Houston. I mean, there are some edge rushers that have had success in the past that are out there. Trey Flowers is out there. So, there's plenty of opportunities for the Panthers to get one of those guys. It just doesn't seem like the draft, there's a really good one at the top of the draft, but after that.
There's some, but it's really
in terms of like a normal draft year, this is a very down year for that position.
Yeah, there's the top 3, and then it kind of tapers off, and then there's a lot of guys from that like 50 range to like 100, but none of them really stand out. Yeah. I clicked on this guy, and I was like looking at him. I mean, Cameron Thomas, edge from San Diego State. He had 4+ pressures in 13 out of 14 games. It's impressive. But
that's nice. Yeah. What school was he from?
San Diego State. Aztecs.
Okay. So maybe that's what you look for, is one of those smaller schools that these guys fly under the radar, but they dominate.
They always have to dominate on a lower level, and I like looking at them. That's why the Chattanooga guy jumped out. When I was looking through some guards, I was like, hey, someone who dominates at that level. Sometimes they just in high school. Took some time to grow into their body. It's just natural. Yeah.
Or sometimes, they have to get a few concussions, medically retire, and come back and play at a small school, right?
Yeah, he realized
Calcaterra.
that.
Remember Calcaterra?
He realized, working this 9-to-5 style job for peanuts.
We had a quote that was basically like, man, you were going to be a top pick and you decided to leave. What are you, stupid? I mean, that's basically what he said. I mean, again, this is a guy that has had several concussions, so maybe not the smartest idea to actually come and play football, but hey, who knows? All right. Anything else you wanted to kind of chat about, Jerry?
Not over the draft. I'm excited for the draft to be here and know where I'm sitting at. So excited for Thursday night.
Just a few days away. So just kind of for the plans here, Jerry and I are going to do one mock draft prior to the draft, prior to Thursday. And then on Thursday, we're going to try to figure out how to sort of integrate our real-time reactions to the pick, if there is a pick at 6. And we're kind of working on our ideas for that. But we'll definitely have a show up after the first round to talk about what the Panthers did.
Correct. Yeah, I have a plan. We're gonna record it because, again, I have a suspicion they're gonna trade back. I would put it 60 to 70% that they trade back at least.
I would put it at 100% that they want to trade back.
100% they want to trade back.
Yeah.
The 60 to 70 is only.
The offer? Yeah. Are they going to get the offer that makes sense?
Yeah, they're not going to drop back for a 7th round pick. That that's just.
Right. Yeah. And we didn't talk about the possibility of the Panthers signing Baker or going after Baker or Garoppolo after the first round. They very well could if they don't get that quarterback that they want. So just keep an eye on that as well. After the draft, if a quarterback has not been found during the draft, the Panthers are going to make a move.
Yeah, they're going to trade.
They have to.
The writing's on the wall. Darnold's gone, or at least he is going to have competition this year. If he doesn't, I will be shocked. I'll probably be very struggling to watch the games, to be honest with you.
Let's talk a little bit about that before our mock draft, because I have a few other thoughts on that. So tune in for that.
All right. We want to thank everyone for listening. If you like the show, please let your friends know. Please follow us on Twitter at MeowMix Podcast. If you have any questions or comments, you can email us at mailbag@meowmixpodcast.com. And if you leave us a 5-star review with a comment on Apple Podcasts, we will read it on the show.
All right, everyone. Well, we'll see you again on our mock draft and then again on Thursday night. And until then, everybody take it easy and keep pounding. Wow.